Oh no! It's morning!
And that means it's time for the Rotten Mournings. Best way to start your morning off. Episode of Rotten Mournings.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Hi.
I'm
Hello.
Scott.
I'm Matt.
I'm Brandy.
I'm Grim.
I'm Brandy.
Thank you. You
There's
can't be
two
Brandy.
Brandys.
Two Brandys.
How did you do that, Brandy?
It's a BOGO brandy.
Woo!
That is awesome.
We got Frankie here with us, so that's super fun. We're going to go over some news.
Yes, first
some
we have
reviews.
news.
Yeah.
So,
Very exciting.
Let's tell the news.
Let's
in
do
Rotten
news real
News,
quick.
we didn't really discuss it, this particular thing in the podcast last week, that we did a live last weekend, trying
On
out some
Saturday
hot
night.
sauces that were
Mhm.
called
So-called hot sauces.
so-called hot
Was
sauces.
it
Thank you.
Swiftburn?
Yes, it was
Swiftburn
Yeah.
Dynamite hot sauces. They taste good on food. They're really not that hot.
I vomited.
Grim vomited.
She did vomit.
I'm seeing a theme.
Yeah,
Right?
She vomited tonight too.
Well,
She
we
actually
did
scream
another.
vomited tonight.
The
Okay,
Anyways,
hot sauce.
let's just go past that to Monday. On Monday, I released another one of our reviews
for Hilltop Farm
Hilltop Farms.
here in Argo.
And fun fact about that review: a good handful of patrons have come into the grocery store that me and Grim work at and have said, on your recommendation to try out Hilltop, we went and tried out Hilltop, and it was really
Nice.
good. And thank you for the recommendation.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, Hilltop, that'll be $7.50.
Well, speaking of the store that you work at, we've also put together a lot of stuff for Buckeye
Yes,
Grocery
we have
here
Buckeye's
in Argo
Grocery in
too.
Argo.
Yes.
You guys can find them on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on
I cannot get
Facebook.
on TikTok without seeing
Facebook twice.
tomatoes.
Yeah, on Facebook it is called
Tomatoes.
Buckeye's Grocery, Argo, Alabama. On TikTok it is just Buckeye's Argo, and on Instagram it is also Buckeye's Grocery, Argo, Alabama. So
I cannot get on TikTok. That is the end of that sentence.
Yeah, yes. And literally, we have got a rousing reception for our last tomato video that Grim came up with. So that was that went over really
It
fucking
had
well.
tomatoes in it.
It had tomatoes in it.
Yeah.
I liked the peaches video y'all did too.
The peaches was fun.
The peaches was fun, but the tomato video for some reason has gotten a lot more press than the peaches
Yes, it
video.
has. It has.
People like tomatoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, people are fond of fruits. You know what it takes to make fruit? It takes some weather. I have a weather report here if you guys are ready.
Oh yeah, please hit us with the weather report.
Weather boy.
So today's weather report, when water falls from the sky, that's called rain. Don't make a big fucking deal about it.
Good.
That's
Not only a weather report, but wise words
Yeah,
from our
solid advice.
weatherman out in the field.
Beautifully
Wise
said.
advice.
My helicopter is awesome.
oh, I'm sorry. Do it again.
Hey, I'm in the
Put
helicopter.
your pants back on.
I'm scared.
Nobody
Takes his pants off and starts running around the room.
Instant
Hey, this
vomit.
helicopter sounds real.
That I'm tossing Grim out of, apparently.
Grim fell out of the meat copter. So yeah.
Well, we have a little bit more.
After we did that, what else do we got?
Well, we have been filming some more. We've got
We
some
have.
new skits filmed.
We've
and
got
wanted-
about, what is that? About 5 new skits
I believe
filmed,
so.
and we're going to start a new series, which will be called Rotten Remains, which is an old scrapped idea from Rotten Strips, because that was one of the ideas we had for the name of Rotten Strips. So this will be kind of like a new running series with as many of us as we can get in whenever the hell I do it. Maybe 3 episodes before we get to the middle of September when we
Sounds
start
about
working
right.
on strips. Because we got a lot.
So we did get the as one of the things that we just recently filmed, we got that job making the after school special about fireworks safety. So I'm
Yes,
looking forward to
yes.
everybody seeing that.
Exactly.
Very
That's
educational.
very educational. Frankie, I got to tell
That's
you,
one word for it.
the burrito video and the burrito being spat out of my mouth is, I don't know how I edited this so well, but it is fucking amazing.
Fucking love it.
I knew that when it was happening, when we were filming it, that magic was occurring.
Magic definitely
I could-
occurred. It literally looks exactly like it was supposed to look. I don't know how I did that with the small amount of footage that I had, but I did it, and it looks good.
Personally, my favorite is Matt's sound effects for it. So,
Okay, so anything else?
yes, there are two other things I would like to mention. One, on Friday, we released several more new shirt designs
did.
on TeePublic.
We've got a
No.
good handful of new shirts. There are more to come. I'm going to try to make one for everybody in the group that are similar to the ones I made tonight.
You can find them on teepublic.com/user/rotten.
That's right.
Hey, guys, I just got mine in the mail today.
Nice.
My,
Yes.
We got a few.
I got my
well,
horror print design that I'm going to claim that I'm wearing because this is an audio medium and you can't prove me wrong.
That's
So-
true. That's true. We got us a few, what was it, a couple of days ago?
I think it was on Monday that
On
they
Monday?
were delivered. And now that you've put up new designs, we will have to order some more.
Yeah, we will be
Yes,
ordering
we
more.
will.
And we also got our rotten tapestry, which
Yes.
looks phenomenal.
Yeah, Matt even tasted
Which our first showing of that rotten tapestry was
Was-
for my other piece of rotten news, the live we did Friday night,
Saturday. No, Friday.
Friday
It is
night.
Friday.
trying the
It was
Miracle Berry off of Amazon.
Yes, and that was the weirdest shit in the world because it literally makes everything taste like sweet
Super
as
sweet.
shit. And if it's sour, it just makes it taste like nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the
And if it's
most part.
bitter, you vomit.
And if it's bitter, you vomit.
Or scream vomit.
Scream vomit, yeah.
Okay, I get it. I screamed. I get it.
I
And
mean,
vomited.
we all heard you.
You
Scream
said,
vomit.
The-
Okay, next.
I can't get it out of my mouth.
Yeah, yes, you did. It won't
It
go away.
won't get out of my mouth.
I've
yeah.
never been so glad to not be there.
Man, pickles tasted disgusting. I
Yeah.
love dill pickles. They tasted disgusting.
I was so disappointed because I loved the pickle taste and it didn't have any.
I got accused of tomfoolery.
We were like, you swap these pickles, you son of a bitch.
You rapscallion, you.
It was instant distrust for Scott.
That was the like
I mean, yeah.
I taste distrust.
This tastes
But that
like
was-
betrayal.
But what the funniest part about that though was after you had already tried several things and been like, oh wow, yeah, this does taste really different. But for some reason you still expected that one thing
To taste
to
the same.
taste the way you wanted it to. And then it was Scott's fault that it didn't.
It is 100% Scott's fault. I'm glad we all agree on this.
Yeah, that's the case with most things I find. So
Yes, yes, Scott's fault, definitely.
Hey, Frankie, out of curiosity, have you tried Miracle Berry?
I have not, and I refuse to.
Hey,
It does rewire your taste buds. And
Frankie proven to be the smartest of us.
I'm interested in seeing how long this is going to last.
I'm not into your dystopian future where you can rewire your brain. That video game sucked. It's not. It's still not done.
Still not
Why would I
done.
want it in real
Damn,
life?
Cyberpunk. But yeah, so that is what
Rotten
we've got in
news.
Rotten News.
Was there any news in that?
This after this coming week that we know of? Have we planned anything yet?
I know we did some filming on Saturday. I don't know what the hell we filmed, but we did some.
That's usually until we see the footage, we don't know what we filmed.
Yes, exactly.
But
I'm sure I
That
edited
means it'll
it
be
like
fantastic.
a fucking pro. 'Cause I'm a genius.
I would like to say, we're going to start throwing this plug in there. What's the date for CreepyCon?
Ah, yes, CreepyCon.
It is the
Cool
last
Doodle Lore
weekend
that is not
in-
officially sanctioned by CreepyCon, but will happen on the grounds near CreepyCon.
Asterisk.
That is at the end of
Asterisk.
August.
It is the last weekend in August, which I believe is the 27th and 28th. Well, it's the 26th through the 28th. We will be there all day, the Saturday, the 27th, and Sunday, the 28th.
Yes, and we will everybody on this podcast right now will be there, including a few more.
Yes.
Oh, lots more, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Lots
Well, not the
more.
people. I didn't say the listeners, just the people sitting in on this.
Yeah. Which is right here.
Yes.
And I will be leading a peaceful resistance protest against this senseless noodle war. This is disgusting.
Frankie,
This is disgusting.
If at all possible, could you make some picket signs and from polls you approve of?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I had to stab Scott in the uvula. He was getting on my nerves.
Hey, guys, I just got stabbed in the uvula.
Can you please stop fucking bleeding on me, Scott?
Yeah, I can. I mean, just as soon as
Grow up and close that wound.
Just
You
as-
little-
Why is your uvula blood like a different color?
I think it's the miracle berry. It's really sweet.
The blood
though.
does taste sweet.
Yeah, it
True
does
story.
taste
True story.
Uh,
Very weird.
The weekend after that, the super jazzed Halloween Horror Night starts,
Yes.
and
Hopefully, we will be making it out to Halloween Horror Nights on that first
If
weekend.
we
Would
can
love
find
to.
a way to make it work, I'm super stoked about it.
they
I
just
don't know
released
if we can.
one of the houses is Bloom House.
Mhm.
Oh well, there are other.
We might not be there actually.
I'm sure there'll be other houses. If we have to skip one, I'm thinking that one's going on the list.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair.
Bloom House can suck it.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, they're actually the sponsor of today's episode. So
Awkward.
I'd like to say something. Here's a fun little movie review for everybody.
Oh wow.
We haven't seen Doctor Strange yet. Me and Brandy
Nope.
hasn't seen Doctor Strange, but Urza just ran inside, ducking her tail and barking. Anyways,
Something scared the hell out of me.
but we did see a way, I'm imagining better version of the multiverse in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
cannot tell me anything about it.
That movie is fucking amazing. I cannot rave about it enough. It is one of my favorite movies I've seen this year.
No,
A24,
it was
Yes,
it was
A24.
amazing. I agree wholeheartedly.
I am so
I
jazzed
loved
to
it.
see it.
I
I
am
went to the theater.
blown away by how good that fucking movie
Okay,
was.
so when I first saw the trailer, I got really excited about it. I said, "What is this?
Mhm.
We have to see this." And then as things go, when you see a trailer and then you don't see it again, and then you forget about it by the time it comes out. And he started playing it last night, and
That is a bit slow.
I was just glued to it. We watched
You
the
could not
trailer
look away from that
again
movie.
today, and I love the trailer even more
That's awesome.
now that I've seen the movie.
And it is everything. Like, it is insane how crazy
it is everything,
the
everywhere, all the
idea
time.
behind that movie and the idea of how they deal with multiverses is just I can't say enough about how badass that film was.
Without giving anything away, one of my favorite pieces and the way it starts before you even get to the action parts is the way they tell the story through facial expressions.
That's awesome.
There is dialogue, but the dialogue is not what's telling you the story. It's their faces that tell the story, and I loved it.
Such a good movie.
They say that
And the
face-
post-credit scene reveals that the bad guy's Doctor Doom, right?
Correct. That is correct, and it leads into Phase 6.
that reminds me of the saying that the face of a child can say so much, especially the mouth face.
Yes.
I want to punch
All
kids.
right.
Hey, there's a dog over there.
Yeah,
I think
Urza
there's a
has
ghost in here with us because Urza is definitely
wigging out.
not
There's
happy with
something
something that
wrong
the
with her.
rest of us we cannot see.
Hey, I did see the new Doctor Strange movie yesterday. That is a Sam Raimi movie.
It's a what?
That is a Sam Raimi movie.
What did I say?
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
soon as I went and saw it, I called Matt. I was like, I don't know if this is a Marvel film, but it's definitely a Sam Raimi film.
Yep,
You said it
undeniable
was a
Sam
Sam
Raimi
Raimi
movie.
film. Am I to imagine that means there's a lot of like cuts where the same thing happens over and over again in the background?
Well, I don't want to spoil it.
Like does it seem like the extras don't really know what they're doing?
I love that there was like a little like wink wink nudge nudge about the role that psychedelics played in the early history of the comic book, because you know the Doctor Strange comic book really was just to tap into like the psychedelia culture, you know.
Definitely.
That's why it was so trippy, and they really kind of you know, did a hard wink toward that in this movie. I thought that was fun. I don't know. I guess if I had one complaint about it, it's like they did well with the Scarlet Witch. But like if you're gonna have Sam Raimi do a Marvel horror movie that is Doctor Strange, you're telling me the best you could do was just make the villain Scarlet Witch? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they only did that just so they could harken back to the TV series, because they were like, you know what? We won't even have to build the story about the Scarlet Witch. You really have to have seen the TV show to get the story. And this is one of those Marvel movies that I feel like relied heavily on people seeing something else. A lot of the Marvel movies can kind of stand alone in certain aspects, but this one, you will not have any idea who the Scarlet Witch is, any idea about her backstory. It's a 7-episode series that really explains why it gets to this point in the first place.
Huh.
Yeah, it was really good.
I'm interested in seeing it for sure. We just haven't yet.
In kind of related news, y'all talking about trailers and things like that. Out of curiosity, I watched the trailer for Diablo 4 today, and they do Blizzard does huge cinematic trailers for their sub-average games.
Sub-average. That's awful. That's awful kind of you.
Yeah.
Huge cinematic releases.
But the cinematics in this trailer are the best that I have ever seen them do.
Man, if they would have just spent that time making the game.
Yeah.
I remember when they announced this game, and there was literally a groan from the audience because they were like, we're going to make Diablo 4, and it's going to be mobile.
No, this is Immortal. 4
Whatever.
Is the new PC game.
Nevertheless, it was like, the new Diablo project's going to be mobile, and everybody's like,
This is not the mobile version. This is 4. This is the actual sequel.
Well, I've heard that.
You keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, the subsequent groan is still coming from that audience and the players of the game.
Oh, yeah. Everybody in Immortal is mad as shit. And me too, because I'm in there. Cool, guys. Well, that's been news and some little extra stuff. If you guys stick around, and please do, we're going to take a quick little sponsor break. And when we come back, we'll get into number 2.
Freddy's Revenge.
We're going to get into a real number 2 of a review.
Yeah.
It should have been called Nightmare on Elm Street Behind the Red Door, because the door is red in this one.
Yes, it is. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Listen, Scott found a trailer from the first movie that shows the door is red.
Bullshit.
Swear to God, it might have been mixed from another movie, but all the other clips they played was from part 1. But the clip that they showed of the front of the building seemed way too clean to be from part 1. It seemed more like it was from part 4.
But it was a super red on a white house.
It was.
And it's that iconic shot that I remember from the trailer.
It was in a documentary called Scream Queen about Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
We'll talk about that in the next half.
Yes, and we will talk about that in the next half.
All right, guys. Take a break.
Matt, it's time for a break.
Taking a break, Matt.
No.
Oh, do I hit the button?
Yeah, no.
Is it this button?
Oh, my God.
Did I hit it? Did I do it?
So that was a really interesting break.
You're a damn liar.
Why am I a liar?
I don't know.
And they were bread and butter pickles.
Yeah,
The,
you're a fucking asshole.
You son of a bitch.
I'm Brandy.
They weren't. Again. I just keep cloning somehow.
I'm Brandy too. Fuck it.
3 Brandys now. 3.
Guys, welcome back
I was Brandy once.
to the second half of the podcast.
Scott's Randy.
I am
Randy.
I am the original and only Brandy.
In this part of the podcast, we will be continuing our series on iconic horror icons. I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't mean to. I don't even mean
Iconic
to.
icons.
Yeah. Only the most iconic of icons. And we'll be talking today more about Fred Krueger.
Yes, my favorite.
And what's the title of this
Not
one?
Fred
A
Cooper.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Not the one you said. Not the one you
Fred
said.
Cooper.
A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
Freddy's Revenge. That is right. Now, right off the jump, this movie was never supposed to happen.
That's right.
They
Wes-
didn't want it to happen.
Wes Craven specifically did not want it to
So
happen.
many
and is
directors
not
turned
involved
this
in one.
project down. It's not even funny. Even a couple of writers got denied their scripts.
What's funny is that Wes Craven, in retaliation, said, "Not only am I not going to do that,
I'm going to make
the
the
script,
hills have eyes too.
Fucking God.
which
The hills that
That
have
have
eyes.
Rated
Rated
R.
era.
Them hills got eyes.
Them hills got them eyes too.
last week I was wrong and Matt was right, and it kills me to say that. The poster was Hills Have
told
Eyes
you.
because Hills Have Eyes had the torn
Jaws
poster,
poster, correct.
and I was just missing a step, and I couldn't make it work in my head, but that's what it was.
The hills have eyes too, because in the first one they had mouths.
Why did you just look at me like I was going to argue that?
I am
They
gonna
had
argue.
mouths.
No, he's not.
They had mouths, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what I fucking.
All right. All I
fucking
want to know,
thought.
do they have mouths and
Okay.
shut yours? All right. So yeah, this film did happen though.
This
It
is
is.
such a fucking
So,
poopy movie.
We're
It
gonna
came out-
start it off with Brandy giving the statistics here. So here comes Brandy with the statistics.
So it was released exactly 1 year after the first one on November 1st, 1985. The director was Jack Shelder. It was written by David Chaskin, but was still produced by Robert Shea of New Line Cinemas. The budget was $3 million and the box office was $30 million in comparison to the $57 million that the first one made.
1.5 million of that went to the masks that they put on the dogs.
Yes, it did.
And 3.2 million was made opening night.
So
And that was literally off the Freddy hype, not off the push for the movie. Because if you even watch the trailers, the original first release trailers, they are fucking night and day. So if you watch that trailer, you already knew you were going into something completely fucking different with brighter colors, and just like it was so much more vibrant
Well,
of a trailer than the first one was all
but
dark.
it had to be, and that's
Well,
the secret to success in horror films is that you can't make the same movie for the second movie.
Yes.
And that's going to be a
Well-
recurring theme.
Oh, they sure
well, there was
didn't.
also
What's that?
I said they sure did not
They
make the
sure
first
the fuck
movie.
did not.
well, there was also so many different contributing factors to that, because while they were making the first one, there was no plan for a sequel.
Yes.
Wes Craven said from the beginning he did not want to do a sequel. He did not want it to be a franchise. And he really didn't want his characters that he wrote to be used.
Unfortunately, he didn't have an option because he sold all the rights to his characters to New Line just to make the
It
cinema.
was 5 months after the release of the first film that they began filming the second film.
Yeah.
Which was greenlit the opening weekend
Yeah.
of the first one being released.
Well,
because
that's
it
how
had
they
such
fucking
a-
roll.
Hey, I have a question real quick before we move too far past the budget. How much of the budget was given to them by Body Glove?
That is
Because
a very good
that
question.
is- The laziest, by far the laziest product placement I have seen.
to agree. Everybody is wearing it, and they even bring it up at one point and say, "Hey, cool shirt." But
Hey, plus, fucking spoiler alert. Like in the very beginning of the movie, in the bus, the Body Glove sticker is by the stick shift.
yep,
The whole fucking movie is about him being Freddy's body glove.
they even made a joke about the product placement in that movie in the newest season of Stranger Things, when somebody else is doing a similar plug for, what was it, Sun Pacific or whatever the,
Yeah, Pax, was that?
It's something
I can't remember,
Pacific.
but yeah.
but they kind of do that same joke because Stranger Things 4 is all about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, it is set the following summer after, because Stranger Things season 4 is set in 1986, which would have been right after this was released in November of 85. So,
Little fun fact.
Yeah, cool. Matt, you want to run down the plot really quick, and then we'll get into the nuances?
Yes. So the plot is, and the writer kind of, first off, the director didn't really like the first film.
No.
The writer wanted to go in a different direction. Let me preface that originally the plot was going to be like Rosemary's Baby, where Freddy is possessing a newborn child, but one of the producers from New Line Cinema was pregnant at the time, and she did not like that idea, so they scrapped it and eventually used it for part
Scrapped it for now.
For now, because it was used later on in the series. But the plot follows Jesse, a teenager who has moved to a new town. He has moved into Nancy's old house where the original nightmare had happened.
The Blue Door house?
I think it happened like
You
he moved in
motherfucker.
5 years after.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was exactly 5 years after.
They painted the door.
Yes, whatever. Fucking asshole. Anyways, kept the color of the house the exact same. Really renovated the house by painting the door.
Well, I think they had to do that because someone got pulled through the blue one.
Yeah.
Why
is that not a metaphor? You know, we use jumping the shark for Fonzie. Why don't we call it being pulled through the blue door when you just tag an end onto the end of your movie as a, hey, I'm going to make this a franchise? Like, oh, they really pulled that one through the blue door, didn't they?
Well, I was going to try to make that a thing, but now if I say to people, are you going through the blue door or the red door, it's got problematic connotations.
Yeah, that's true. Fair statement. Okay, so back to the plot. So we follow Jesse. He has just moved on to Elm Street, Nancy's old house, and he is wrestling with these new feelings, becoming an adult, meeting girls, trying to socialize in a place where he knows nobody. Eventually, he starts to become aware of the fact that Freddy seems to be trying to use him as a vessel, which is what the director said. He wanted to have Freddy actually having an avatar in the real world so he could be Freddy.
I don't mean to jump ahead, but could we talk about this first nightmare, like where the film opening, like the very first scene, first nightmare?
Yes, of course. It starts off with the bus where they are driving off into the desert. The ground breaks away, and
before hold on, tap the brakes there.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah, I know, and he wouldn't do it because he's Freddy and he's an asshole.
He's like, I ain't tapping no brakes, bitch. No.
Jesse in this, he looks unlike he does not look like this in the rest of the movie. He looks like just a complete dork. Like his hair, his clothes,
like an emo dork. It almost looks like he's got dark eyeshadow on.
And it never explains this, like why he's just in this one scene, in this one nightmare, he's just a complete dork. And
I have to agree. In that one scene, it's like, what the fuck?
I don't necessarily know why that is the case, but I do know that this was part of a compromise made from the first film. Yes, and like I said, Wes Craven did not even want his characters to be used. Robert Shea, the producer with New Line, wanted the end of the first movie to end with Freddy driving the car.
Yes.
And Wes Craven disagreed with that and did not want that to happen. So they compromised that the car would turn into Freddy and that the second one would start with Freddy driving the car. And Wes Craven still would not back down because he did not want his characters to be used for a second film because their story should have been wrapped up with the first one. So therefore, they created the bus scene with new characters in the second one in order to replace that because it was still something Robert Shea had wanted in the first one.
That is interesting.
That scene though that they did create did go on to give them super high accolades for for some of the effects that were in this film.
Yes, agreed. So you have the bus scene with the emo nerd. Then I think like technically it's sort of a genesis because you can watch that character become a sports guy really fast.
But he's immediately like he wakes up, and obviously before he, after he screams, before he comes downstairs, he has his hair done by the professional that lives in his bedroom with him. He comes downstairs for breakfast, and his hair is awesome 80s hair.
Yes.
And he's just like, whatever, bro. Had a bad dream, no big deal. And high fives 3 or 4 people, and it's totally cool, Jesse.
He tries to acclimate himself into this society, and slowly but surely, Freddy becomes more prevalent, eventually sort of taking over his body and running rampant at a party, killing some other people, and subsequently finding his end in a large mechanical factory of some sort where he burns to death, which doesn't make any fucking sense. But I get it.
Like so many other parts of this.
Yes.
Like,
Listen, that's just basically the plot of this movie. Yeah. That not the minutia of it. We're gonna get into the minutia of it a lot, but the gist of it is, moves in a new town. Suddenly, Freddy's like, I like that dude. I'm gonna use him, and he does. And eventually, he finds his way back with.
He liked him. He's like, I want your body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really want your body. Is that
and
a
he
TikTok
takes
sound?
it.
Eat a dick. So this brings up something that I wanted to bring up. That one, this film takes Freddy and says, "Hey, what if the lore that we built in the first one and the things that are true in the first one aren't true in this one?"
Yes.
The whole entire rules of Krueger.
Yeah.
Piss on them. Light them on fire, rip them to shreds, eat them, and poop them out.
But now I'm almost okay with that, and here's why. Because in Friday the 13th Part 2, we have a whole new killer, right? So the things changed in that one. And you see that's what I said. The second horror of a good horror series has to change either the genre or some rules or something. But what's weird about this one is that there is multiple villains in this movie and people don't talk about it.
It's true. But wait, before you go into that, you made a statement that said successful horror franchises have to change at the second movie. I want a show of hands. Whose favorite Friday the 13th is Part 2?
No one.
Whose favorite Freddy Krueger?
It's everyone's. I didn't see that one coming.
A lot of hands here.
Who's second Freddy Krueger movie, their favorite Freddy? Second Hellraiser, their favorite Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Second Pumpkinhead, their favorite. They're all shit. So
Jaws
hold on.
That shouldn't be the fucking rule because all the second movies are shit.
But there are a ton of people that like Evil Dead too.
Yeah,
and
Evil
you
Dead
like
really...
and you like Hellraiser too. I don't even know why you're fronting right now.
Yeah, my bad. Hellraiser 2 is fucking bad as fuck. It's probably
fucking awesome.
But in this film, the one of the other villains that's in this film, there is a possessed and explosive parakeet that has nothing to do with Freddy.
That was probably
okay.
Horrific death. The parakeet.
I got something to talk about the parakeet too, but
I have so much to talk about. I have so many notes. I don't even know where to begin. Like, it is all right, the haunted house thing. And you've touched on this, that the rules are out the window. Like, they decided to make Freddy like a possession haunted house story.
Yes.
And if this was an ability that Freddy always had, like, why would he do it? This is so much shittier than him being able to invade everybody's dreams.
Well, not to mention that the one place that Freddy never wanted to go is into the real world. It's where he was like beaten by the Home Alone girl.
So it's a pool party.
Well, honestly, if they had made this film as this same exact film as something different and called it something different and it wasn't about Freddy Krueger, it probably would have been received a lot better.
If they skipped
honestly.
part 2 and went to part 3
But
and made
because
this
they
like a
changed all the
completely different killer
rules-
altogether, this movie would stand alone a good like shocker type movie.
It would have been fine. It would have been fine. I mean,
Well, you know what? Like what you said about Hellraiser and what you said about Evil Dead. Successful second parts go back and tell the first story right
Better.
alongside the second story,
True,
and
true.
they're successful.
Yeah.
That is true.
I didn't understand why he asked Jesse to kill for him. Isn't that what he does? Like,
Yeah.
what does
Yeah,
any
why
actor
do you need
say?
him
Why are
to
you
kill
gonna
for
ask-
you?
What
Yeah,
the
that
fuck?
doesn't.
and
And I
did
know
you
that was-
notice how as soon as he asked him, like after the dream where he says, kill for me, that's when he's able to affect the outside world after that? Because
Yes.
that's when all the shit starts happening. That's
Yes.
when the damn world turns into fucking, by the way, here's a topical joke, current day Alabama, where everything is fucking hot and melting.
Yes.
Oh my god.
But your thermostat
being
doesn't
hot.
work.
And everybody cries about it being hot
Yes,
all the
and then
fucking
they
time.
have the miserable
Yes.
dad that's just not gonna fix shit. Just go up there and clean your room. So the son goes up there and starts humping his toys. And
So
he's like, what the fuck is going
The
on?
first scene that we were talking about when he first wakes up from the nightmare and he comes downstairs. Okay, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. This movie is such undertones of homosexuality. Later on, recently, the writer has admitted it was
Yes.
meant to be
David
undertones.
Chaskin has
But
recently
if you
admitted
follow
that he
this
meant for
movie,
that.
it is a great movie. If it was not a Freddy Krueger movie about a monster, sort of like the way that Babadook or It Follows is an allegory for other things, this
And
would have been a great
emotions
allegory
and-
film that would have come out in the early 2000s.
So just a quick point on that. When David Chastain wrote that, he didn't write it to be a champion of the homosexual community. He wrote it as a little bit of homophobia
Mhm.
because at that time is when right before the AIDS pandemic was when it was being written, and then the AIDS pandemic
and
happened
such
right after it came
bad
back.
stigma
It was super
all
bad.
around it.
Yeah, so people were coming out, and people were didn't know how to take that. So society was kind of scared of that because society
there
gets
were-
different.
And
There
people
were
were
guys-
terrified of being infected.
There were
by it.
guys during that time that were like having to go to conversion therapy.
Yeah.
And it was really scary to some kids because some kids thought, holy shit, I could just suddenly catch homosexuality. I
Right.
could suddenly just become attracted to a man, and it's something that can be fixed. And this movie
Well,
is riddled with
Mhm.
those ideas. The dad saying, you don't need to, do this and that. You just need to go out
Because
with a
it
nice
was
girl or
used.
get kicked in the butt.
The ending, the fucking ending of the film is the girl rescuing him.
But
from-
I don't think that that's the same. Okay, when I first thought about that, I thought, wow, this is so pro
Gender bender.
gender bender type movie, and it's fucked that at the end it's a girl that saves him from it. But I don't think that the point was that heterosexuality saved him. I think it was when the girl reached out to him and said, I love you. It was not a romantic love. It was accepting the
him
things
for
that
who-
he was.
It was more of like a
Yes.
suppression.
Yes, he was
Maybe.
like, look, I will support whatever, even if you're Freddy Krueger, I will support you. Not necessarily, I want to make love to you.
Right.
which is why it would make a great allegory, like you were mentioning before.
So
And
where-
that would
which-
have been solid. That would have been 100% solid if they hadn't, had the scene where they nearly had sex.
Yeah.
And
Yes, but if you notice in that scene, instead of Fred, that's like one of the first scenes when Freddy starts breaking through his body, that Freddy himself is trying to take part in that sexual act as if he had another guy there, so he felt more comfortable being with a girl.
Robert Englund had talked about a scene where he's stroking Mark's face or Jesse's face, and he's like, it is very intimate. They're like nose to nose, and you can see that. And he said I didn't take that scene that way. He said Jesse's beautiful, and I'm hideously discarded, and I'm like the Beauty and the Beast, and that's what I'm like looking at. And I always thought that was neat, but the the writer writing homosexuality as a villain in this thing. What I don't know if y'all have thought about this. This was 85, 84, Sleepaway Camp. It
Yes,
came out,
which was another gender bender.
and that is transgender. Being raised as the different gender.
Yeah,
and
it's
that being a thing to be scared of.
Right.
Hermaphrodite. It's a
Yeah.
movie about a hermaphrodite.
No, it's not though. That was just a boy. He was just a boy.
Okay.
raised
That
as
is correct.
a girl.
Right.
But then in the second one, it's a girl now.
Yes,
Yeah,
which is
so-
weird. The whole second one is weird, but it's a great movie.
Well, all the kills are great.
Yeah.
so-
But okay, so one of the things that stood out to us when we watched it last weekend was right in the first scene in the kitchen, above the refrigerator against the wall, there is a fucking mold pan that is literally a giant penis.
Yes, and you can see it in so many of the scenes in the kitchen.
Mhm.
Well, there were more, like, it wasn't even just the script writing and the dialogue and all of that they added in with these homosexual undertones, because you had a board game named Probe.
Yeah.
You had the sign on the door. that
sign
said,
on Jesse's
no girls
door,
allowed.
no girls
No chicks
allowed.
allowed.
You have the famous line where he shows up to his friend's house and he says, "Someone is trying to get into my body," and his friend says, "And you want to sleep with me?"
Yep.
And that's not to
He
mention the
had,
fact
he had left the scene where he was about to have sex Lisa and went straight to Grady's house.
And
Like,
that
right
yeah.
behind the comfort.
that
Yeah.
scene showed Freddy coming out of him to be in the act, almost as if Freddy was his repressed homosexuality, going, this is gross.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when he licked the girl on the chest, it was Freddy's tongue, and he was like, "Oh, this is gross." Take Freddy out of that, and it's just him licking a girl's chest and going, "Oh, this is gross. I got to get out of here."
And we've all been there.
Which,
All
okay,
been there.
so we've discussed the fact that the writer has recently admitted that he did write in the homosexual undertones. He meant for it to be more understated than it was received as. The director, Jack Shoulder, still claims complete ignorance. Like he had
Because Jack
no
Shoulder is
acknowledgement of that
ignorant.
whatsoever. Well, at that
As
point in time, he also was not a director prior
He
to
was a
this.
trailer maker.
He was an editor for the New Lines trailers.
Yeah.
This was
They had the character of Coach. What do you mean subtle undertones? Like,
Yeah, he
Lit-
literally was at a gay bar, at a leather boy gay bar.
And the director's like, "Well, I scoped it out when no one was there,
Yeah.
and we put these kind of weird looking women in there. It was supposed to be a tranny bar." I'm like,
What the
How
fuck
does
that make it
mean?
better?
what?
Not better, but
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily an
as far as
undertone.
what he was saying.
Yeah, like
yeah.
you're still going.
Well, like I said, he
Here-
claims ignorance. I don't know how.
here's my
but-
question. Was Coach Snyder going to rape Jesse when he carried him to
Yes.
the gym?
Without a shadow of a doubt, they talk about it when they're doing the push-ups. He literally says that, he goes to a gay bar all the time on the weekends. He loves watching us
And he gets his
work
rocks
out,
off
and he gets his
watching
rocks
it.
off
Yes.
watching it. He says that shit. Now,
So when he was getting the jump ropes out that wound up being used on him, that whole scenario was actually a turning the power back
yes,
on
I
the
think
would-be
so.
aggressor.
Wholeheartedly, I think so. Because he gets tied up with the jump rope. Why was he even getting them in the first place? There were not multiple people there.
Oh, why was
He didn't
even
get
at
a
school?
jump rope.
Why did he send him back to school late at night like that after there?
Then he's
So the movie
attacked.
could happen.
He's attacked by his own balls as if that was his original intention.
I hate when I get attacked by my own balls.
Do you sell it like he did? Just like
Yeah.
chew gum and it like, no big deal. I get balls thrown at me all the time. So what?
Don't calm down,
So-
guys. I got an ointment for that.
I didn't find anything about this, but I kind of wonder if the whole S&M bar was an add-in later. But here is a fun fact I found of this. Did y'all know that Robert Shea, the producer, has made multiple cameos in most of the Freddy films? And in this one, he wanted to play Mr. Grady. And the director, Jack
Said,
Shoulder,
we need a
specifically
real
said,
actor.
"No, I need a real actor."
And he
And
got his
even
feelings
admits, well, he even admits that he almost lost his job over that, which is why he let him be the bartender in the S&M bar.
Well, yeah, so he's the bartender in the S&M. But speaking of weird recast, Robert Englund wasn't in this movie.
No.
This film was shot with
With a
another
stunt
actor.
double,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the stunt double was so wooden, and I'm thinking like Boba Fett wooden. Like
You know, there's still scenes with that stunt actor.
There's a
in
couple.
them.
I think the shower scene was
Yes.
one of them. But they said he was so bad, and they enacted it. They said he moved more like Frankenstein's monster than he did Freddy Krueger.
So that would have been if those two people had been playing those two parts, they could have just made this a different movie.
But it was all because after the success of the first one, Robert Englund's agent wanted more money for him, and
Yes,
they didn't
really
want to pay
should.
it.
Yeah.
They were trying to save money.
And
on
then
this
they
one.
realized that Robert Englund
was
was
Freddy.
Nightmare
Well,
and is New Line Cinema.
well, so to that point, the makeup for Robert Englund in this one is the first time he gets some of his iconic looks.
His pointy nose,
his
his
teeth,
red eyes, and his
red-
teeth.
Yeah.
And by the way, the shots of Freddy where you can just see him like with flame flickering, you know, kind of in the dark in the background, some of the creepiest shit. Like they got some of the best shots of him. Like after he emerges from Jesse and Grady's room, like
Dude,
that shot of him smiling is terrifying.
I agree. I think another terrifying shot is in the pool party when the guy comes up to like, oh, hold up, calm down, bro.
Just calm down.
And the way Krueger is looking at that guy is like the way a psycho killer would look at a Karen. Like, are you fucking
Because he's
kidding
walking
me?
up to him like, we're not going to hurt you.
But the face that
Ugh.
he has in that is so iconic of a Freddy Krueger face ware he's like, are you kidding me?
That's Beetlejuice.
But he's still, it's just so intimidating the way they had his eyes sunken in, the way the shadow played on that face. It was so good.
Well, let's go back to talking about the parakeet. because
Okay,
I think
back to the
hold on.
parakeet.
The
I
parakeet.
know you had something to say about the parakeet part. I believe you said this was the most terrifying part you had seen.
Yes, the
Graham.
poor little bird exploding like that.
And I know you said you had something to say about the parakeet.
The
too.
parakeet is actually an allegory of the parakeet in a mine. That when you take a canary into a mine, that is whatever. Shut up. Whatever you take.
I don't even know what to say about that. It's just funny.
Yeah.
When you take Red Robin,
When you take a canary into a mine because of the methane, it'll die first. It'll give it enough time to get out of there because the oxygen is too thin too thick to breathe. In this one, I guess the oxygen was too fiery to not catch on fire.
Well, apparently the parakeet scene was originally supposed to be an homage to the birds, and it did
Yeah,
not
they
work.
fucked that up.
Yeah.
this was
but
one of the reasons
also,
why Wes Craven wouldn't touch this film.
Yes,
because
was the
that
parakeet
scene, and they didn't want to take that scene out. That classic, perfect Freddy scene.
well, so there's
Yeah.
another part of that
Shit.
too. The SFX department actually built a demonic parakeet puppet, but the producers, they never used it because the producers said it didn't look enough bird-like. It
Yeah,
didn't look
which-
enough like a bird.
Which
So they
feels a
killed a
lot
real
like
bird.
Bird Box, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, like the dad totally called it. Like if you look at the explosion of the parakeet, yeah, that is totally a cherry bomb. Like that thing just fucking erupts into flame. And by the way, all the feathers that fall after it blows up, not charred at all. Like they are just perfectly
They
green
fell off
feathers.
first.
Not to mention their most important scene almost took out the lead actor, Clu Geller, the father, because the parakeet immediately darted toward him and scarred his eye. And
Mhm.
they say that Clu Geller to this day still has a scar under his eye from that
From that
parakeet.
parakeet.
Which was the only thing the parakeet could actually do.
Yes.
Right?
Guys, we're going to take a quick 60-second break. We'll be right back with the conclusion to our thing here.
The parakeet had one line.
We'll be
One
right back with
line.
the part 2 of the thing here. Ain't no goddamn conclusion. It's probably going to be 30
Part
more
2 of
minutes.
part 2.
We'll be right back. Frank, hold on.
Hello.
I've got some terrible news. So while we were on break, actually my parakeet Benedict Cumberbeak actually murdered its brother Bird Loki and escaped containment and clawed out both of my eyes before exploding into flame. Now I know this is
You're taking it very well.
well, I mean, I can't see, so I mean, I can't really. I don't even know really what the horror looks like. And this is medium, so it's not really going to affect that. But that being said, I think that Freddy is trying to get inside me.
Well, I'll remind you, this is an audio-only podcast, and your eyes aren't needed. Just that
Exactly.
sweet-ass voice.
It doesn't matter that I can never see again.
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's
yeah,
fine.
we'll be all right.
Yeah, that means you can't ever watch Rotten Reviews videos anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
And you are the envy of all of our listeners.
I'm just going to be like Lloyd Kaufman and Terror Firmer.
Does it look good? Fuck it. Move on.
Did you like my Bird Loki joke? I liked my Bird
Yes,
Loki.
that was good. That was good.
I actually liked Benedict
Yes.
Cumberbeak.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty solid.
Love that name.
Love that name. Next.
Now my legal name, so that it's good that you like it.
I would have gone with Gnome Chirpsky.
Son of a bitch.
It's so good.
Genius.
All right. So
Frankie,
what
what you didn't see is Brandy write down Gnome Chirpsky and show it to Matt to read.
I can't read, so I made it up.
Well, Frankie can't read. He doesn't have eyes.
True story.
I'm blind, Brandy.
So yeah, we were just talking about the bird scene.
Parakeet.
Yeah, the parakeet. And what's interesting is, I don't know, was there a Freddy film that had more animal-related things?
Negative.
No.
This was the most animal-ridden Krueger movie, period.
Yeah.
There are dogs, cats, rats.
A snake.
A snake.
Kind of dogs. Like,
Kind
Yeah,
of.
they
oh my
had, like, weird baby face dogs or something.
They were puppies. That's what those are called.
I honestly
No, they
think
were
that the
fucking-
fucking masks on the dogs are fucking terrifying, and I wish they would have shown it more and not been like, oh, that didn't come out right. Let's not show it that much. I even have toys of the dogs.
Yes,
with
you
the-
do.
And it's the coach's face, and it's I can't. The other
It looks like
characters.
Giovanni Ribisi.
No, this is the
I
coach's
just-
face. I think this was the first person that died in that. I can't remember who it was.
So yeah,
But yeah,
Wasn't there?
they
I
are
was trying to think
disturbing
of
looking.
another film that had dogs' faces. It wasn't like Resident Evil. It was something.
No, Resident-
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Was it The Thing? Did
he
The
said
Thing
Invasion of the Body
Was it
Snatchers.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Yeah. Interesting.
They fused the homeless guy and his dog together when they copied them. So you had the dog with the homeless guy's face. By the way, Scott, before we move on, the baby dogs are called Puppies line. Bravo.
Thank you.
Sir.
Actually, you didn't see this, but Brandy wrote that on a sheet of paper. I just read it. So.
I really hate how y'all keep giving me credit for your lame jokes.
Gnome Chirpsky.
Well, I'm Brandy and I like it. So
So yeah, there's this film wasn't critically received.
Oh, let's talk about one other scene, the
Okay.
pool scene, which is another scene that Craven denied doing the movie because of.
Right.
Because Freddy Krueger is so tiny. Robert Englund is a short dude, and all the teenagers at the party look like 4 times his size. Like they could whoop his ass in a
Well, you
second.
know, even Robert
And they
Englund
fight
says-
him like ninjas in an old school karate movie where it's like all one at a time, guys.
One of the guys.
Well,
well,
Robert
hold on.
Englund's
Like
actually
in this
said-
movie, like it establishes that Freddy's powers have now become controlling locks, controlling jump ropes, and controlling temperature. Those are
Yep.
his only powers now.
Yeah.
And he has a Kitty Pride power.
which is interesting because
It's-
he's not
It's
an
weird
X-Men.
though, because in the first part, he has to jump through the glass door to get to the pool party. But then to leave the pool party, he just clean walks through the wall.
Yeah, and he can
Yeah.
also burst open beer.
He can
which I
pop
think is
beers.
pretty fucking
He
cool.
can
He can
pop
throw
hot
beer.
Yeah.
And people will applaud the guy that actually contains the hot dog popping.
Yes, they apply. Oh, way to put the hot dogs out, bro. Woo!
By the way, Freddy jumping through the glass door and disappearing, iconic. I love it. I love the way that looks.
There's, what's crazy, this film, it wasn't the first film, and people were expecting the first film when they went to see the second one, and so it didn't get the critical acclaim of the first one, but going back and watching it, there's so much to appreciate
Yes.
about this film.
Exactly.
There
It was
really
It's a
is.
terrible
Some
film.
of
One of
the
my-
practical effects were great.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things they
Um,
never touched in any other Freddy Krueger film was Freddy actually coming out of one of the characters.
Yeah.
They show Freddy change from a lot of characters, in part 3 with the nurse scene, that they literally said, we are not doing Freddy slowly becoming this girl. There's just a point where it's now Freddy. And in all the other Krueger movies, when he's playing somebody's role, there's never a change from him turning into Freddy Krueger slowly. It's just 1 minute, one person, next minute it's Freddy. This is the only movie where they sort of show Freddy coming through. And the scene when the claws come out of his hand is probably one of my favorite parts. But it's also another thing that pisses me the fuck off about this movie. Because in this movie, Freddy did not have his glove, but for like 3 scenes. And all the rest, it just looks like a burnt hand with nails coming out of it.
Where's that?
I like
I think
the
right now, I
glove
think
was
we're gonna
Freddy
be
though.
him banging his hand on the arm. of the
Urza
chair.
agrees with me.
Yeah, and he didn't have his glove in a lot of this, or it didn't get shown in a lot of this, because
Where's that? Stop.
they wanted the emphasis on body glove.
Yes.
Which
Body
Right, body
Yeah.
glove,
Yeah.
not glove. Body
not glove, not hand glove, not knife glove.
But like literally, like after he's birthed out of Jesse, the glove is completely gone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and Jesse's fine.
Yeah.
Which
Which is
in
not a
talking
thing that would happen.
and talking about him actually bursting out of Jesse's body, did you know that in the scene where he rips himself through Jesse's body, for one scene, Freddy Krueger is actually played by a woman?
Yes, the eyeball in the mouth.
Well, okay, so they had built a dummy and they even had a cast of Mark Patton's head there. But the only person small enough to actually fit into that was actually the girlfriend of the SFX designer, Kevin Yeager.
So that is
So for
three
that one
people.
scene,
3 people who are playing
played
Freddy,
Freddy
in this one.
movie.
The only other person I know who played Freddy in the actual series, not the remake, was Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder only played it, and I don't even know if it was it a Nightmare movie or was it a Friday the 13th movie where the glove comes up and gets Jason's mask?
That was a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah.
That was in Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, so that is actually Kane playing Freddy for that. So, but that doesn't count either because that's not
Yeah,
a Nightmare
not
film.
not a nightmare.
So I had a couple more fun facts that aren't necessarily relevant to the plot
Or
and the
fun.
story, like we've mentioned,
Or facts.
or fun.
Yeah, even true.
But did y'all know that Brad Pitt and Christian Slater actually auditioned for the role of Jesse and lost out to Mark Patton?
I know that they were talking about how when they did the casting later on in their careers, they were like, "Holy shit, we turned up away a lot of really famous people."
Yeah,
Well,
but they filmed a
Michael-
clone of Meryl Streep, so I thought that was
It's not.
Well-
a clone of Merlin.
Well, actually,
It's
they did.
Meryl.
They did actually
whatever her
say
fucking name is.
that Kim
Meryl's her
Myers.
brother.
They did actually say that Kim Myers was cast because she looked like Meryl
Yeah.
Streep.
That's absolutely true. But as far as big name celebrities attached to this, the best friend that he goes over to his house,
Grady.
for his audition,
Grady.
Robert Downey Jones, Robert
Downey
Jr.
Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. wrote him that,
Yeah.
Because they were working on what
not
was
Pretty
it?
in Pink, but
They had just filmed scenes
Weird Science.
for Weird Science.
Yeah.
That's what it was. They had just filmed their scenes for Weird Science, and Robert Downey Jr. gave him a ride to his audition for this movie.
Hey, by the way, since you brought up Grady,
Michael
did Grady really push his grandmother down the stairs? You remember the scene in the cafeteria where the girl asks him if he's going to come out that night, and he's like, "No, I'm grounded." And they're like, "What'd you do?" And he's like, "I pushed my grandmother down the stairs."
Yeah.
And nobody laughs. It's not a punchline. Like everybody else in that scene is just like the audience at that point. You start to think about laughing, and you're like, "Wait a minute, is he serious?"
So
I just pictured that as the lady in Gremlins 2. He pushed her down, and she had the little wheelchair on the side of the stairs.
Well, you're talking about a guy here that goes and plays baseball wearing a sweater and track shorts. He's obviously unhinged. So
obviously.
He was such a nice guy as a neighbor.
well, okay, so I mentioned that Brad Pitt had auditioned for the role of Jesse. Can any of you tell me where in the nightmare world Brad Pitt does actually appear? Do you know?
My dreams every night.
Yeah.
He was actually in an episode of the TV show.
Yes,
Nightmare.
that's right. Yeah.
The black box or the black something, black sticks.
I think I have that written down on the TV show part, not here. So
The skull used in the film was also the same skull used in Karate Kid.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sure, I didn't know that.
I mean, I brought that up because,
Black
Matt brought up
tickets.
ninjas. So
Yeah, true. That must have been where they got the ninja attack
yeah,
scene
that's
from.
what I was thinking.
Black Tickets is the name
Black
of that
Tickets
episode
is
he's
what it
in.
was. Yeah, sure was. Interesting.
But that was 4 years after this film was released. So.
I'd like to say also that there is a very damn good chance, and God heaven help our souls, that it couldn't possibly be as bad as the remake or part 2. But it's probably gonna be. Blumhouse has now teased that they're doing the remake of Nightmare, and it has been shopped around. And they did go quiet about it a couple of years ago after trying to find a director once Craven got the rights back. I have this really bad feeling that Blumhouse is about to make a remake of Nightmare.
If they do, I have one request, and it's that Freddy Krueger be played by Haley Joel Osment, because I keep saying his name instead of
Jackie Earl Haley.
Jack.
Now, I'll say this. It would be interesting if they did the Nightmare remake, because Shay, what's the older lady's name that plays the English teacher in part 1? She's the psychic from all those Blumhouse movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
So it'd be not hard pressed to get her in it unless she's died and I've missed that memo.
Yeah,
Which is possible.
which is a memo I wouldn't have gotten.
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Would it be that interesting though?
No, it wouldn't. It would be Blumhouse, and they would fuck it up however they fuck it up.
Unless they make it Freddy Krueger versus Malignant versus the fucking what's the other one?
Yeah,
The Upgrade.
Upload.
Yep. Freddy versus Upgrade versus Malignant. Make it happen, Blumhouse now.
Yes.
Who was that great director that did all the '90s trash? Uwe Boll or
Ooh, Bowl.
Ooh,
Yeah.
well,
yeah, that's who I was.
The video game
Bowl.
guy.
Ugh.
Oh, let's make a movie called Night Rain about a vampire girl completely abandon the video game altogether and blacklist Billy Zane after he talks shit about it because of how bad it is.
Dude.
Fuck, you
Hey,
know
Matt.
what? We're about to get blacklisted. You better, hey,
Mhm.
Ooball, you're cool, man.
Hey Matt.
Fucking awesome.
Hey, just
Hey, Matt.
real quick,
Yeah, what's up?
Hey Matt.
Yeah.
The door is red in part 2.
Oh, I know the fucking door is red in part every.
Blue in part 1, buddy. And hey,
Fuck
do you remember the time we went to see House of the Dead in the theater?
Yeah, God, yeah, unfortunately. I don't
You know-
remember much about the movie, but I remember the disappointment that came after it.
You know what that means? Means Uwe Boll has some of our money in his pockets.
That's true. God damn it. We rented Blood Rain too, man.
Yeah. Why do we keep fucking up? Why is it so hard to be a good person?
So this film was, based on how much it cost to make the movie and how much they got back. This was enough of a success that a few years later they made a third one.
Yes. And they
Can I
got
say one thing before we move on?
Only a year.
Yes, of course.
How is Jesse not in prison at the end of this movie?
Right?
Right? Listen, here's my idea
think that about
about
all
what the
horror
actual movie is again.
Went back
Just like in the
and like-
first movie, it felt like the beginning or the end of it was like the beginning, and it was almost like where it started, as if the whole thing was a dream and she knew what was going to happen. And then the nightmare starts at the end of the movie. In this movie, he starts the movie off on the bus and all that shit happens. And at the end of the movie, he's back on the bus as if that's where it started. So
you think emo nerd Jesse is real Jesse, real life Jesse?
yes. And that in his dream, he imagined himself
To be something else.
a social butterfly.
That completely plausible.
Plausible.
Plausible
That's
but
great.
flawed.
Bring up the diary and everything. Is there ever any more mention of the diary in any other movie?
No,
No.
well, that was all. Okay, so Heather
That's a weird
Langenkamp, who played Nancy, was never asked to be part of this movie
Uh-huh.
because the general idea to begin with was that the house that she lived in was more important than her as a character. But as they went through, they kept referencing Nancy and talking about
Uh-huh.
Nancy, and then he found her diary too, and that's where that was.
Which is a weird thing to have left behind.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
And
But
by the way, not
and
even
after
really
you-
that well hidden.
No.
But after you survive what goes down in that house, do you really want any reminders of it?
Do you sell it?
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
really
you
interesting.
just paint the door a different color and you move on.
Yeah.
Yes, there
Fuck
you
you.
go.
Fuck you. It's very interesting how, and I know we'll get into this when we talk about part 3, but how part 1 goes to part 3. Like, what the fuck happens in the middle of that? Because the cop guy knows good. I'm gonna fucking beat you with that goddamn bottle opener. Because the movie goes immediately from the end of part 1 where the mother's dead, and in part 3 now she just shows up and her dad's a retired cop who drinks a lot. Like, what the fuck?
How did you know I have a bottle opener?
Exactly. How the fuck does she get to go to school and all this other shit when she kind of, like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any
Well,
sense.
okay, so
How
you
dare they.
mentioned the how is he not in jail at the end of this movie? I kind of feel that way about most horror movies. Most horror movies, especially if you're dealing with something paranormal or supernatural that most of the world around you did not see, the main character should be in prison at the end of it and nobody believes you, or
But
a
it-
mental institution.
But it's I know. It's a suicide pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the other day, officer.
Yeah.
A pack of suicide?
Oh my land.
It's a whole pack of it.
It's
A whole
goddamn.
pack of it.
I just made a suicide pact to myself after hearing that fucking joke.
He's making a reference to fucking
Yes.
Tucker and Dale.
Tucker and
Yes.
Dale versus Evil.
Yes.
Oh, and hey,
Another great
by the
movie.
way, post-credit scene for Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Falcon is revealed to be the new Captain America. So got that to
Yep.
look forward to.
Yep. And Phase 7 started then.
You're supposed to say spoilers, man.
Again, when it comes to the end of this movie, Freddy was beaten like, I don't know why even come to the real world if somebody saying they care about you is just going to kill you. Like, it seems like the dumbest fucking shit.
Well, okay, so Robert Englund himself said that he liked the beginning of this movie and he liked the end of this movie, But overall, out of the entire franchise, this was the movie he felt the least comfortable working on.
So to be fair, though, at the beginning of this movie, he got paid, and at the end of this movie, he didn't have to make this movie anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Not to mention, this is one of the only nightmares where Robert Englund is fully out of any costume or
'cause
character
he was
at all. He was a bus driver.
yeah.
And
For,
as
the
Robert
very last
Englund,
scene,
not
as
as
Robert
Freddy.
Englund.
The
Not as Freddy, not as like a girl nurse, because he does that in part 5. He impersonates other people, kind of like the way Ernest does in some of the movies. He does that older lady
yes.
on the counter and shit. What?
Yes. That wonderful, legendary thespian.
Yes,
Yes.
Ernest.
Jim,
Hey, you don't talk no shit about
James-
Jim Varney. Jim Varney's a
James
fucking
Varney.
genius.
So have we addressed yet
The voice of a
who
nightingale.
Freddy was getting
But hated
revenge
the
on? Freddy's like,
A
what?
voice of a
He
parakeet.
didn't get revenge on anyone.
He
No
didn't
one's
get
in the
revenge
first
on
movie.
anyone unless
The
you
first
count
movie is Freddy's Revenge.
unless you count the coach, which might have had something to do with killing him, but they never say anything about that. The coach would have been the one thing he was getting revenge on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like pre-venge. Like that
Yes,
hadn't even
yeah.
happened yet. He was obviously intending on raping him. Don't get me wrong, but it hadn't happened yet.
Well, it was
What
also,
I'm insinuating is that maybe the coach had something to do with him being burnt in the town in the first place.
Well, I also think, like, as far as New Line was concerned, that was why they didn't feel like they needed Robert Englund to begin with, because in their eyes, Freddy was just a guy in a mask. And David Chaskin and Jack Shelder were both determined to prove themselves, as in, we can do this on our own. We don't need Wes Craven. We want to go a completely different direction and change all the rules.
So
Hey,
Brandy
Brandy here with a question. This is Brandy. I've got a question. Do you think that Coach Snyder raped Freddy before he was burned to death?
I think it's more likely that it's a representation of Freddy. Like, I don't know. It's so hard to do. Like, they almost had like a kinship. Him and Freddy had so much in common. If Freddy was the character that Wes Craven said they intended him to be in the first place.
So why wouldn't Freddy take him over?
Yeah, right.
Like if Freddy's all of a sudden trying to experiment with body, manipulation.
Typecasting at that point.
Yeah, I don't want to do something easy. I want to do something hard.
So I do want to say this though. We brought this up last week, and it goes into this week as well. The iconic Freddy, and Frankie, you had brought this up, didn't become that iconic one-liner punny Freddy until the third movie.
Yeah, still not here.
So the first movie, he was, a guy that was in your dreams.
He was Rob Zombie. Yeah.
He's more, in this one, he is more of a nightmare. They said they did his makeup like a male witch.
Yeah.
That's where he gets his iconic
Mitch,
look.
if you will.
Yeah.
He barely has a personality in this movie.
Yes.
I mean, really.
But at the same time, he delivers one of the most iconic lines
Yes.
in the series, which is, "You've got the body and I've got the brain." Everybody quotes that line from Freddy, and that came from the worst nightmare movie, period.
And probably he's the most
It was
terrifying in this one.
It was also a throw-in line from Robert Shea, the producer, at last minute saying, "Hey, say this," and it stuck.
Or him standing in front of the flames saying, "You're all my children now."
Yes,
That's
because
iconic.
later on, they reference that scene in Freddy's Dead when he stands over the cellar door and he goes, "In every town, in every city, there's an Elm Street," which is a harken back to, because he's got the smoke, not fire, but smoke rising up behind him in that scene.
But that's just this movie, and we've touched on this earlier. This movie has moments that are just very, very solid. It's just a lot of the ideas overall just didn't land. I mean,
And the plot didn't tie them together well enough, in my personal opinion.
So I think that this movie is a vital part of the Freddy lore, as it is, as the Freddy series. I shouldn't say the lore because it changes the lore too much to say that, but as a Freddy series, you've got these iconic lines, you've got these iconic scenes, you've got these iconic looks, you've got so much that people know about Freddy came from this film that just, as a film itself, wasn't a successful Freddy film.
I felt
And
like the Freddy in this one was a bit lazier. He wasn't as active as the other Freddy.
He was
characters.
tired.
I guess so.
well,
When
bringing
he goes
yourself
into the
into the
real
real
world, yeah,
world,
he's
that
like a
changes
pussy.
everything.
The lowest kill count, only second to the Dream Child, which only had 4 deaths, whereas this movie, dream-wise, only had 2.
Really?
2 dream deaths. If you count the coaches as a dream death. That's
And it
only-
wasn't. He wasn't asleep.
And he wasn't even asleep. So technically there's only 1 dream death. And it's the girl in the bus. That's it.
Grady was a dream death. Remember, Grady fell asleep.
Okay, yeah, Grady, okay. But even that being said, was it a dream death because they both weren't asleep and the skeleton was there for the other guy?
They were both asleep, though. Remember, like, Grady was
Oh, that's
staying up
right.
watching TV, and
Yeah.
Jesse had told him, whatever you do, don't go to sleep. Jesse went to sleep. Grady turns the TV off and says, "Sweet dreams, pal," and then
Yeah.
he goes to sleep.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But everything else was in real world. There was only 1 dream death in that whole fucking movie.
There's
1 dream death.
There's none of the characters from this movie appear, besides Freddy, appear in any other films, right?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So this is one that
They don't even harken back to these characters.
I think they brought the parakeet back for part 5.
There is a scene where there's a bunch of burn up shit. The parakeet could have been laying in the burn up shit.
But yeah, to me, this is the weakest of the Freddy movies. It's still a must-see because of the ideas and some of the great work that Freddy did in it. But all in all, completely fucking ignore this from the mythos. Because now, at this time, there weren't other movies that went back to the original rules. But this movie blows all the fucking rules out of the water. And again, like I said, 1 dream death in this movie. Second only to 4 dream deaths in fucking Freddy's kid, the Dream Child.
Yep. Guys, have we hit the points that we?
Frankie, is there anything else you want to throw in on this?
Yeah, one last thing that I never got around to. When Jesse goes with Lisa to the factory, where he actually took the 20 children to kill them.
Yes.
And she asks him, "Well, are you connecting with this in any way?" She's saying that as though he has revealed to her that he believes he is being taken over by Freddy Krueger. However, after he kills Grady and comes back to her house and is confessing everything, she acts like she has no clue what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So that was a big kind of plot flub.
Yeah.
That's true, but have you considered she might be really stupid?
Well, I know. I guess that's just sure. We can call it that, sure.
The lead character went on to say that I know it feels like a misstep in the series that there was not a female lead, but in his mind, he still considers himself a Scream Queen.
Yes, Mark Patton calls himself the first male Scream Queen.
And he's the final boy. It's the
Yes.
first example. This is a iconic film in the gay community. The gay community loves this film, except for they don't like the ending.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But he was. I just finished watching the film Scream Queen, and this guy was. He quit acting from all the
a few
things
years
said,
after that. Yeah.
and he moved to Mexico and got away from everything, and didn't even know that there was a resurgence in a love for this film until like decades later. And all these years, he had been mad at David Chastain because David Chastain was like, "Man, I didn't write this to be have homosexual overtones at all. It was the actor. He made it a gay film." And Mark stands by. He's like, I only did what was written. I did exactly what was written. And he was a really good actor. He had actually been on Broadway with Cher and all of these big Broadway productions.
He is at this point in time out and open about it, but at that point in time he was not, and was very determined to not portray himself that way because he did not think he would get roles because of it.
And then they let him do the dance scene like ad lib, and it was so like, I don't say gay as a disparagement, but it was so male sexually driven.
Yep.
In a very predominant female way.
But when he moved to LA, his managers and everything that he had told him pretty much to dress straight and, keep him closeted and this and that. And, but something I think is awesome is when he stepped away from everything, he went on to teach more about HIV, like give more education about that.
His partner,
I think that was very important.
His partner had gotten HIV, didn't tell him that he had HIV, and then died from it. And National Enquirer had a witch hunt at the time and was trying to show anybody who was gay, they were trying to put that out there and make them, get their dollars from putting that out there. And it was a bad time. That was the AIDS pandemic, and Rock Hudson had passed away from it. And
you know what? It's great that some places have now banned conversion therapy.
Yeah.
That only just recently happened. So hooray for America. Yeah. But we also had like one of the most fucked up defeats in our history
on Friday. Yeah.
On Friday. And I'm not going to go in deep about it because it's...
If you know, you know. And if you don't, you're
a horrible fucking thing. My mind is blown by it. Hope fuckingly we can do... I don't know. It's just...
Fix it somehow.
It's fucked.
Well, Alabama sure as shit ain't going to fix it. So
no, Alabama ain't going to do a damn thing.
Welcome to the land of the not free.
They're applauding right now.
Guys, this has been our episode of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge.
And listen, guys, do not be afraid of your feelings. Do not be afraid of your emotions. I preach this all the fucking time. It is human to feel it, man. Don't let somebody tell you what you feel or what you like or what you're interested in. Don't let them tell you what is right, because the minute you try to fight that's when you have a mental complex. Beforehand, you did not. It was them telling you that this is the standard operating procedure that fucked you up.
Exactly. You don't owe it to anybody to pretend that you're something else other than who you really are.
Because
this is Brandy.
In 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, you will not know that person, I promise you. And you will be in a better place if you don't fucking listen to their stupid bullshit. And they will be in a shitty place because they purvey that bullshit to everybody.
Guys, if you don't know what we're talking about,
welcome to the club.
What was just broke down to you is 100% stay rotten.
Stay rotten, guys.
Stay rotten.
Stay rotten.
Join us next time for another episode of Rotten Mournings.